How's it going, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and welcome to the kickoff of this new segment, Where to Start Reading Spider-Man. Well, that's the first one we're starting off with, is Spider-Man. So for a few years now, I've been asked to do this particular segment, where to best start reading some of these characters in collected editions. So this is the kickoff, the very first episode. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Before getting started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Ring that bell for notifications. Thank you so much to our patrons for making videos like this possible. I could not be doing these type of videos without you all. So today I am doing a segment that I have pushed off because I think it's my age and my mentality is what happened. So for a few years now, a lot of you all have asked me to start a segment of where to start reading a lot of these characters in collected editions in graphic novel format. I think my mind was just stuck in the 80s where I grew up, and it was because my first issue of Uncanny X-Men was 168. My first DC comic was Crisis on Infinite Earths number 8. So to me, the mentality was always like, well, I gotta save my money that I make from mowing lawns in the summer or working in the tobacco fields, whatever it is that I had to do to hustle to make that money to go get back issues. I realize now times are different. We have digital media, we have graphic novels, collected editions, and all types. So it changed my mind because of you all. So I thought about it long and hard, and I'm going to kick it off with Spider-Man. So that's what we're talking about today. So if you're a fan of the video games, if you're a fan of the movies, if you're a fan of the animated show, the kick-ass Japanese show, and have never read Spider-Man, then this video is for you. Or if you know somebody that has been trying to get into Spider-Man, this is for you to suggest to them. I'll be telling you what kind of collected editions are available for these specific stories. So I've narrowed it down, and believe me, this list was difficult. But I am sticking to 616 Peter Parker. So 616 meaning our Peter Parker, the universe that we've been reading about since Amazing Fantasy number 15 all the way back in 1962. It is the same character we have been reading about since 1962. Spider-Man has never really had a reboot. There hasn't been a wiping of the character and let's start over from scratch. We've had several renumbering and then going back to the original legacy numbers of the issues, but we've never had a hard reboot of, all right, Peter Parker is no more, he's 15 years old again. That hasn't happened. We've had a soft reboot, and I'll explain what that is a little bit later in the video. Now, out of all these, by all means in the comments down below, let me know what you suggest the best starting point is for Spider-Man, or what you would have taken out of my list. But let's go ahead and get started. Now, this is for the completists, like myself. I would want to start at the very beginning, and I completely respect and understand that, so that's why I am suggesting the classic Spider-Man by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. So without these two masters, we would not have Spider-Man. Without Steve Ditko, I'm sure Amazing Fantasy 15 would have been it, and you would have never heard of Spider-Man ever again. So this sets up the character, this sets up a lot of his supporting cast, his arch nemesis, I'm serious, all of his arch nemesis, the big ones, the big guns, with a few exceptions, are found in the very first 30-something issues that Steve Ditko and Stan Lee did together. It is found in Omnibus format. They are available in Epic format, Marvel Masterworks format, trade paperback formats, and even the Mighty Marvel Masterworks format. But this is where I strongly suggest starting for those people that are completists and have to start at the beginning. Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, it is Silver Age, so some of the dialogue may be outdated, some of the dialogue is long-winded, and the narration is quite a bit of reading, so just be prepared for that. Now, if Silver Age is not for you, and you want to fast forward a little bit, then look no further than Roger Stern's Spider-Man. And I'm going to go with the origin of the Hobgoblin in particular, and that is because Roger Stern was one of us. He was a fanboy growing up reading Spider-Man by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, and later on Jerry Conway and Len Wein, and then eventually he had a chance to write the book. Now, do you need to know anything about the Green Goblin before reading about the Hobgoblin? No, not really, because he does an amazing job of catching you up to speed on who the Green Goblin was and the legacy of the Green Goblin and how it all started. One of the biggest mysteries in comics is the Hobgoblin. But this has everything. You get the Black Cat, you get the return of the Kingpin, Madame Web is in here, the relationship with Mary Jane and Peter Parker building stronger, the Prowler, and so much more. Now it's available in omnibus format, it's available in trade paperback. There are several trade paperbacks. There's a hardcover collection of this material, but if you get the omnibus format, it's perfect because it also has the Juggernaut story and, of course, the kid that collected Spider-Man leading into the Black Costume saga. And that's where we're going next. So if you want an edgier, darker tone of story, then look no further than the next two. And the first one I'm going to be talking about is The Death of Jean DeWolff. And this one was written in the mid-'80s. It's still Peter David's one of his greatest works that he did at Marvel. It's phenomenal. It's the story of how Spider-Man lost a dear friend to him, and he snaps. And you see the black costume kind of take over him in this rage, and he goes out like a loose cannon. And it's a great story about, trying to hold back and trying to do the right thing. There's the whole mystery of who killed his friend. And strongly suggesting this one because it is a darker toned book, and you'll get to see a side of Peter Parker that you normally don't get to see. But I think it's also a very great place to start reading Spider-Man. Available in trade paperback format, available in standard size hardcover. There was a Marvel Premiere hardcover available in... Actually, it's got a couple of trades. This one I remember being in the late 80s, early 90s, and having a hardcover collection of this. So it's one of the earliest Spider-Man stories that was collected in hardcover format or graphic novel format. And still in this dark era with the black costume, of course, I'm talking about Kraven's Last Hunt. Without going into spoiler territory, Kraven's Last Hunt is one of the greatest masterpieces of Spider-Man history. You have J.M. DeMatteis and Mike Zeck on artwork, working together to tell this story. Now, why it's Kraven's Last Hunt? Of course, I'm not going to give that away. I am going to talk about just a little bit of the setup because I have to. So picture this, Kraven the Hunter, this guy that's trying to defeat Spider-Man for years, finally has the upper hand on Spider-Man, takes him out and buries Spider-Man alive. Not only that, but takes on his costume and takes on being Spider-Man. And through his eyes, you get to see, who is Spider-Man. Oh, it's so good. And the least I say about it, the better. This is available in epic format. No omnibus yet. Trade paperbacks, Marvel Premiere hardcover, Marvel Deluxe Edition hardcover. It's a wonderful story. And I think the Deluxe Edition has the new colors, whereas the epics, they went back to the original colors. So keep that in mind. If you are a purist and you want it in the original format, the epic might be the way to go. It's dark. It's awesome. And man, that ending, and I still gives me goosebumps. I am the Spider every time. All right, next up is a story that is self-contained. This is absolutely self-contained, and of course I'm going to go with Spider-Man Blue. This is a 6-issue limited series available in trade paperback format. It is still in print. It's available in hardcover format. It's part of the Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale Omnibus. And it's the ones that have all the colors in them, but this is Spider-Man Blue. And it's a really deep study on the relationship between not just Peter Parker and Mary Jane, but Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. This is a flashback story, but also catches you up to speed with what's going on between him and Mary Jane's relationship. And it's a beautiful love letter to the past, but written in a modern style. So if you don't want to read things about the Silver Age with that dialogue, maybe this is the book for you, because it does feel like a Silver Age book. Just the dialogue feels a lot more modern. But this is an excellent place to go. Highly recommended. Again, available in just about every format. And most of these are available through the Marvel app. So they're available digitally if you want to check them out that way and then get the trades or omnibus editions. But absolutely, Spider-Man Blue, but just get that Kleenex box ready, because teardrops every time. Now, if you're not a fan of Silver Age storytelling, Bronze Age storytelling, 80s storytelling, even though that's probably in the Bronze Age nowadays, We're going to fast forward some and go into the modern age. So to start off the modern age, I'm going to go with Amazing Spider-Man by JMS. Now, he is regarded as one of the best storytellers to kind of reignite people's love of the character. There's a lot of respect that goes into his writing when he's writing the character of not just Peter Parker, but also his supporting cast of Mary Jane and Aunt May. There's beautiful stories in here. He builds on the mythos of Spider-Man and throws in some supernatural elements that are just awesome. Just a little bit of a warning though, there are a couple of stories, 2 in particular, that are regarded as some of the worst Spider-Man stories by people that have been reading Spider-Man. But I will leave that up to you to find out. I'm not even going to say the name of those stories, but I'm sure anybody watching this already knows what I'm talking about. But JMS's run is stellar. It's a great way to start it. Like, Peter Parker goes from being a reporter to being a teacher. His relationship with Mary Jane is in a different spot, and they're trying to rekindle their love. Oh, it's wonderful. And on top of that, it's been available in complete collections, oversized hardcover collections, trade paperback editions, and 2 omnis. But that is a great way to catch you up to speed to where Peter Parker sort of is these days. Next up is New Avengers. Now, this is a series that I wanted to throw in here because it shows how Spider-Man is a team player, how he deals with other people and working together, and how much of a team leader he can be, how much of a grown-up he has become since those early days of just, dealing with high school drama. So this, I think, is a great way to get into the character if you're into team books. This is the one that's written by Brian Michael Bendis, available in trade paperback format, oversized hardcovers, complete collections, and 1 omnibus. But 100%, I think this is a great way to get into the character when he's playing along with others. I mentioned earlier how Spider-Man hasn't had a reboot. He's the same character we've been reading about since 1962. This one is a little bit of an exception, and I'll explain why. So I'm talking about, of course, Brand New Day. So Brand New Day happened in the aftermath of something called One More Day. One More Day gives Spider-Man a soft reboot. It's not a hard reboot, and I know this is, for you that don't read comics, it's kind of difficult to make sense, but it doesn't reset his origin. He's still the same Peter Parker. It just resets some parts of the character. It resets a big part of his relationship. It resets some of the characters that had died in his past, and it gets rid of his organic webbing. So at one time during the other storyline, he got organic webbing, and then that's reset. So now he has to have his web shooters again. He's de-aged a little bit, but that's about the biggest soft boot that you're going to get for Spider-Man. It's still the same character, but I think it's a fresh start for the character of Peter Parker post-Civil War. His memory, some of his stuff has been reset, so you're kind of getting a fresh take on him. Available in Ultimate Editions, I think it's what they were called. They were the big fat trades. Also available in standard-sized hardcovers and in trade paperback formats. Hopefully we'll get this stuff in an omnibus one day. And again, this stuff is also available digitally. Now, if you want to see a story where you see this character actually take charge and win, because you're tired of him just getting pushed around, look no further than Big Time. This is Dan Slott's beginning. He was part of the brain trust that did Brand New Day, but this is him just taking on the character solo. And he did it for quite a number of years. 8 years, I believe, is how long he was on the book. And this is where you'll see the character just take a whole new lead, leading the Avengers. Leading the Avengers. Remember when I said, if you wanted to see that team relation, go back and read New Avengers? Well, this is where he is leading them. He has a new girlfriend. He's got this new job, and it's a new career. Long gone are the days of him taking pictures for the Daily Bugle. And all of this eventually leads into probably what is Dan Slott's magnum opus that a lot of people want to see collected in an omnibus format, but I'll get there in a second. This particular run is available in trade paperback format, the skinny trades, the standard size hardcovers, and the complete collections. But that is all written by Dan Slott, and you have artwork in there by Humberto Ramos, mainly doing the most artwork. And as I was saying, all of that leads into this, my next suggestion, Superior Spider-Man. Now stay with me, because some of you that have read Spider-Man are probably wondering why the hell this is on the list. And I do have to talk about just the setup, and the setup is a spoiler. So if you don't want to know anything about this, in the description of the video, I'll put timestamps. Go on to the next suggestion. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody, even so if you want to go completely blind into Superior Spider-Man, why people are regarded as one of the best, by all means, please go into the next suggestion. Now, for you brave souls that stuck with me, let's talk about why this is great. And that is because this is a vice versa. It's a switch 'em up. It's 18 again. It's the story. Those are the only movies I can reference. I don't know what other movies do that, but it's a trope where your mind gets switched with another body. So, towards the end of Dan Slott's Spider-Man run 700, there was a story that he did. I think it's called End of Days, where pretty much a dying Doc Octopus switches his mind with Peter Parker. So Peter Parker's now in this dying Doc Ock's body, and Doc Ock is in Peter Parker's body. And he swears that he's going to become a better Spider-Man. Hence, he's going to become the superior Spider-Man. Now, why I added this on the list is because Doc Ock doesn't really know Peter Parker that well. So through Doc Ock's eyes, you get to learn about Peter Parker and his past. And I think Dan Slott does an amazing job of just catching you up to speed with everything that's happened in Peter Parker's life, including a bunch of little Easter eggs for people that have been reading the books for years. But if you're a newbie to this stuff, it's completely fine, because he does such an amazing job of just putting it all together in just a few pages, honestly, and catching you up to where we are. But this is Doc Ock in his body. And there's an awesome scene with Aunt May, but I'll let you find out. And Superior Spider-Man is only available in trade paperback editions, complete collections is what they're called, and then oversized hardcovers. And that's why people want an Omnibus, because a lot of those are completely out of print, and it truly is a phenomenal story. Now, the next run I'm going to suggest reading is the Nick Spencer run, and that is Back to the Basics. And I think it's a great place to start reading Spider-Man, because that's what you're doing. You're going back to the basics. Nick Spencer is taking you back to those classic days. So much so that he brings back a lot of things that were done by J.M. DeMatteis, by Jerry Conway, by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, by JMS. And you don't need to have read any of that stuff to appreciate it. It's a really fun book. Honestly, this is one that I find that it's very dialogue heavy, and it's a little bit of a slow burn, but I think the payoff is great. You have Peter Parker now living with one of his supervillains, or an ex-supervillain, and they're living together in an apartment, and then you have the return of the Parker luck, which is something that has always been part of Peter Parker's life. And you kind of see him digress, like just go back a little bit into that almost college years, but he's still an adult. Anyway, I think it's a great start, and you have wonderful artwork here by Ryan Ottley. Now, this is only available in trade paperback format so far, and of course in single issues, but we're talking about collected editions here. Now, I compiled a list here of alternate reality Spider-Man stories, but these, I think, capture the essence and the spirit of who Peter Parker and Spider-Man are. And so if you don't want to stick with the 616 universe and you want to try out different things, but still kind of get an idea of who these characters are, by all means, check these out. I'm going to kick it off with Season 1. Now, Season 1 is a standalone tale. It was designed to give readers the experience of the origin of Marvel characters, but modernizing their stories. So for fans of movies, for that matter, this is the perfect place to jump onto. The artwork in this particular Season 1 is freaking awesome. There's a standard size hardcover, and there is a collection of trade paperbacks available of this. Spidey. Now, Spidey is a retelling of the classic Spider-Man story, but in a more updated world, kind of like Season 1, but it was geared more towards kids, hence the title Spidey. But I don't know, I happen to really enjoy it. It really was a throwback to me to the Roger Stern era of Spider-Man, or even some Untold Tales, which almost made the list, but I think you would enjoy it more if you had read this. Untold Tales of Spider-Man by Kurt Busiek. And I think it really captures the magic of what Spider-Man was and how much fun of a character, even though he gets beat up half the time. Next on the list is Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. This is an alternate reality of Peter Parker raising his daughter. Sort of like The Incredibles, because Mary Jane also has powers here. And it's like a family thing. It's all of them going out into the world and being superheroes. I think Ryan Stegman was the first artist to work on this. It's got writing in here by Jerry Conway. Dan Slott kicked off some of the stuff in here too. Available in trade paperbacks format. I think it's the only way to get this. Next up on the list is Spider-Girl. How could I not add Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz' masterpiece here? Here's a very underrated series that I hardly hear anyone talk about. And why I'm adding it here is because you get to see this alternate reality of May Parker grow up and become Spider-Girl. But it also features Peter Parker, an older Peter Parker, a more mature Peter Parker, a father, and trying to raise his daughter and trying to make sure that she does the right thing. And I think as a father of two little girls, I completely see his point of view now. I think back when I was younger, I was all like, man, Peter, why are you so old, man? Let May just have fun. But nowadays, I get it. I'm like, hey, you kids need to be in bed. Anyway, so if you're a fan of things like what's happened in Superman with Peter Tomasi's run, or Peter Tomasi's run on Batman and Robin, then this is the place for you to go. Available in trade paperback formats. There are complete collections available, and there were also mini digest size. And last but not least, of course, Ultimate Spider-Man. Ultimate Spider-Man, I think, to me, out of this list, is probably the best place for a lot of people to start reading Spider-Man. You get Spider-Man back in his teens, you get him having that teen drama, and you get to grow with the character. Plus, the story is modernized. It's not the 616 Peter Parker, but it is, you know, like I mentioned, it captures the spirit and the essence of what Peter Parker and Spider-Man are supposed to be. And it is all written by Brian Michael Bendis, most of it drawn by Mark Bagley, available in an Omnibus format, in oversized hardcover format, Ultimate Collections, trade paperbacks. Did I mention oversized hardcover? It's been available in lots of formats. And everybody that I've recommended this book to, especially manga readers, were hooked on it and they wanted more. And all of this eventually leads into Miles. And I'll probably do a Miles reading order, or where to start reading Miles at another time. Now, if you're interested in purchasing any of these books, any of these stories that are still available, check out our sponsors. If you live in Europe and are interested in buying and pre-ordering Omnis, then you should definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices for Marvel and DC big books within the EU. Flat shipping rates of €9.90 for all EU countries. Extremely careful and sturdy packaging, and all emails will be answered within 24 hours. They also offer a superb selection of new titles and out-of-print books on their website. Just head over to waltzcomicshop.com for more great deals and rare titles. And for a limited time, you can use the code Near Mint Condition, all one word, at the checkout, and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order. Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for Omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They pride themselves on packaging your books so they arrive safely in an excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Check out the bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. CGN is excited to announce that they are now taking pre-orders. They're making it easier for you to ensure that you don't miss out on the hottest releases. CGN is currently running a special promotion for your Minties. If you're a first-time customer, let them know that you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. This promotion is valid for U.S. customers only. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount and quality shipping and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that is my list of where to begin reading Spider-Man. By all means, please let me know in the comments down below where you suggest people start reading Spider-Man. What stories out of the ones that I mentioned you would have taken out, and I would love to know why. Not to get into an argument, but just because we're a community, and I love to hear people's thoughts. And yes, please let me know what you would have suggested, what you would have taken out, what you would have added. And if you're new to Spider-Man, if you've taken this list into consideration, let me know what you ended up liking out of this list. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed. Ring that bell for notification. All that helps with our YouTube algorithm and our channel keep growing. And everyone, remember, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.